Hello, everyone. Hello, team. Welcome to yet another March edition of the Office Hours for App Development. My name is Harris. Here I'm joined with my colleagues Inda and Danny. Inda, hello, how are you doing?
Hi, Danny. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Well, doing good. We have one new face today. Danny is our latest team addition in the application developer advocates. Danny, do you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm very glad to be here with you today.
Yeah, so Danny is an expert in JavaScript React, so he's a great addition to the team, and he's going to help us answer all of the questions and help you out in the community. So each month we do you open our doors for any questions and to talk to community and talk any relevant topics to the application development in Dynatrace. Shortly, I can bring my screen up and then we will go through today's agenda and see what we're going to do. We'll just give it a moment, and here we have it. Right. So we've started already. We're going to go through and see what you can expect in this session. And then we're going to go slowly through all of these. So the first, as usual, we will go through some question and answer sessions, Q&A. In addition to our pre-picked questions, you can, of course, ask us on any of the platforms that you're viewing this currently. Feel free to ask any kind of questions, and then we will make sure that we get you an answer to those. So the first question that I'm going to go straight into is going to be this one from Dante or Dant3. We have a question about gauge chart as an app component. So recently, very recently, I think 2 weeks ago, we received the new type of chart, which is gauge chart, and it was right there available in the dashboards and notebooks as a visualization. However, it was not seen in the dev portal, and the reason this is we've found a bug actually with the search component. So the gauge is now available as a chart in dev portal as well. So you can consider that all of the components, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in that, but all of the components that are available inside the latest version of Dynatrace through other components are Strato. If there are Strato components, they will be available through dev portal as well.
You're totally right. If there is a component that is publicly available, you would see the documentation in exactly this section. If you see developer.dynatrace.com/design, and then you have basically documentation for design system there, which is Strato is basically the design system for Dynatrace. Harris, since you asked me already, can you also show people how does it look like?
Yeah, of course. I will share. I have to share another page here, but I will share it shortly. If you give me a moment. Can you try sharing yours? I might be having issues with access to developer portal.
I can share. Give me a moment.
Okay, so I think it works, right? You can see my tab, and yeah, that works, as you can see. So one of the issues that was mentioned there is that the Dante3 or Dant3 was trying to look it up, and we have identified an issue with the search. So if you try to look for it, it might not show up here correctly. However, as you said, if we go to the design and components or components preview, there you will be able to find all of the different charts, and we will fix the search. Our team is already working on it, but the gauge is right here, and you should be able to see it on the screen. and of course works in both light and dark mode, and it basically shows kind of like the speedometer. So it's a gauge, so from between two numbers, and it shows the current value.
Thank you, Harris.
No, of course. So of course, all of the components, as you said, that are in the UI that you can see, they are made, if they're Strato components, of course, if they're Dynatrace made, then you will be able to find them here. If you have the problem with search, please let us know. It is somewhere in the documentation. Now I will go back to my question, and that can be seen. So I shared it there in case you want to access the gauge chart as well. You have the link, and Carrie will share it in the chat as well. Just checking if we have. Hello, David, and hello, M3 Tomlins. I'm happy to have you here. Okay, moving on. Then again, another question from Dan3. He wanted to know if there is a way to increase the font size of a specific canvas of 3 maps. So they had a use case where they wanted to create advanced dashboard apps with the focus of in backing, but the text of the 3 map is too small when you use it on the TV, and they couldn't find a way to increase the text size. Now, the answer is actually no, that this is not possible. But the reason why I want to share this is because as you can see, when you ask these types of questions, you directly have our product managers who are planning and developing new features, and they actually ask for the input from you to see what actually works for you better, and where they can improve our current product. So this is a really, I want to share this case because Michele is really active in community, and he might answer a lot of the questions besides us as well. So he's asking for input if you can share with him, and then they can make specific adjustments there. I don't know if you have anything else to add on this.
No, you have done this wonderfully.
And we had a question as well in the chat from M3 Tomlins, which is, we can have Davis AI in the workflows. Are we going to be able to upload our own models in Davis AI someday? This, I would say, is not a question that is totally relevant to app development. I would say that this is more a question on the capability of Davis AI, and I would totally ask this either in the community open Q&A, where again relevant people can answer it, or you can use the in-product chat. I believe that this would be a question that should go through the PM, so if they can share a roadmap. I believe, actually, I think I can share an example of a case where this kind of idea was made by one of our clients, one of the customers as well, where they built a whole application, and then inside the app they built an basically through the API, you could run different AI models that they have integration with. So I think the queries for that are still possible, and they just integrated that in their product. So that is possible. So you can use kind of with the AI API, I guess, you can make. But to replace Davis and use the AI, I would just use our product chat or community to ask for that. All right. But thank you for the question. Moving on, we have another question where the customer had a problem. Chris had a problem with VS Code where all 3 Dynatrace extensions had a problem with SSO authentication. So as you can see, this is a very good also example of how to share a lot of information when you're creating the initial post, which gives us a lot of a lot of details, so we can understand where might be the problem. You can see the information about their workstation, which kind of versions they installed, what node version they use, and how they created a custom app. Then you can see that they run into a problem. And simply enough, you can have a go at the connectivity troubleshooting, and then you have different kind of error messages when you're running the actual troubleshooting guide, and then you can input that data back. Inda, have you had any issues with that or experience with setting up any of these extensions?
Not really. So I was a little bit surprised, but as for most of time for me, the connectivity issues arise mostly because of some firewall issues in a company where you're working and stuff like that, right? Internally at Dynatrace, I never had that issue.
Yeah, but in any case, there is the troubleshooting connectivity on our developer on our developer page. I will quickly show it right here. Here you can find all of that information in case you have any kind of issues with connectivity when you're developing. See, you can here install the latest versions, verify the access, and go through the troubleshooting. And then once you have all of this data, you can still contact us, and then we'll be able to help. Just so you know that this exists, you can also have other different, so how to debug apps, troubleshooting app functions, and the whole app development. All right. Next question is from Dubois David. He's written an overwrite when deploying when deploying an application using GitHub Actions. So it's more of a CI/CD pipeline deployment. So they have the GitHub action to deploy the custom app when the changes are made. However, when you do want to make changes, as you can see here on the screen, you get a prompt if you want to overwrite this app. And I believe that David came up with the answer as well, and some other user. You can simply use -- force overwrite instead of run deploy, and then it doesn't question you if you want to overwrite it or not. You can also use the force overwrite, as you can see, a different basically syntax. Is there an issue if we use the force overwrite, or this should be considered a safe practice in the?
You mean the first example or the second example?
Well, I think both are the same, right? So I mean yes. So when we're deploying in this kind of scenario, is this the only option that we can use, the force overwrite?
I think that's what I know only. But for me, weird thing is usually I don't see this message, so I'm a bit wondering where is this coming from. Is it something to do with when you don't update the version number, right? So naturally, you're not allowed to upload the same app twice. And what same app means is that if you have the same version number, you shouldn't you won't be able to upload it.
Yeah, you're correct. As you can see here, there is a warning which says application with the ID already was deployed.
Okay, so I think that's a different issue then, right? So
yeah, it can be different version, but the same application, right, with the same ID.
Yeah, so if you have an ID and someone already has basically uploaded the app, deployed the app, and if you use the force override, you would actually sort of delete the previous application. So this is something you have to keep in mind. I'm pretty sure, for instance, if you use auth client, since if you're running it in the CI/CD pipeline, you most likely would have auth client to do that. You won't face this issue unless you have, for instance, for playing purpose or to trying to purpose, you have deployed the same application from your own computer locally with your own email. Then you would see this message, right? This message only comes if someone else has deployed it, not if the same user is deploying the same application. So that's a good observation, I guess. Keep in mind that imagine that someone else used the same ID and app is totally different. And if you use force override, this is deleting the app.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So one way that we could solve this is if we were just authenticated with the same user account that we deployed initially, right? Yeah. So that's a solution. Well, in case it is one of these cases where it's your app, but you still want to go with the update, I guess this would also work. So that's a solution. One of the solutions. Other way is just to authenticate with the client that you deployed it with, and then you're gonna get the same behavior. Now, those are all of the questions that we've checked. There is one more thing that I want to highlight. Those are the new releases. We have the 20th developer newsletter, which I've released. What I want to highlight, besides the usual updates that we bring you, you can check all of the things in the newsletter, which we will share that. I just want to again highlight one really useful resource, and this is by our community users, Mustafa Hussein, who really made a great post, which I linked in the newsletter itself, and talked about his findings and what he found to be very useful to pass the Dynatrace App Developer Certification. So if you're interested in that, we sometimes get questions about it, and it always keeps popping up. So this is a pretty good guide on how things look from the customer side or from the community side. So please check it out. And if you have any questions, you can let Mustafa know or ask us in case you don't find it. You can also find a new video from Penny about the quick start of Dynatrace. If you're new to Dynatrace, check that out, and then you can check out the release highlights in the bottom as well. The link is in the in the chat, so you can feel free to check it out and always give us feedback in case you have anything. Moving on from the newsletter, it's just a new reminder for the Perform 2025, which has already took place in Las Vegas this year. It is over, but you can still rewatch all of the sessions that we had, product announcements, and breakout sessions on demand. The link will be shared as well. You can check out the sessions. These are just some of them by our CTO, CEO, and really fun topics that if you're curious about Dynatrace and the future, feel free to check them out. So with that being said, you can always check out our other resources, Q&A forum as always, where we get your questions, developer docs, and the next office hours, which are held every month, usually at the same time. Not going to be at 4:30 p.m. It's 3:30 p.m., so the earlier time due to the time change, but we will soon be back. Inda, any closing words? I don't see any other questions right now coming in. Of course, if you have any, please let us know.
No, nothing comes to my mind. I think we are good.
We're good to wrap. All right, then. Well, thank you a lot, Inda, for joining me today, and thanks everybody else. Tomlins and David, nice to have you. See you next month, and have a good day.
Bye all.